الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين. أما بعد, Allah تبارك وتعالى says in His glorious book في سورة فصلت chapter 41 verses 1 through 3 بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حاميم تنزيل من الرحمن الرحيم كتاب فصلت آياته قرآنا عربيا لقوم يعلمون. Hamim, this is a revelation from the entirely merciful, the especially merciful, a book whose verses have been detailed, an Arabic Quran for a people who know. So the Quran is Allah's guidance to mankind. And it is, Allah says, Tanzilu min ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It was sent down from ar-Rahman ar-Rahim to be a mercy for al-Alameen, rahmatan lil-Alameen, for men and for other than humans. The Quran has stories, has laws, has orders, prohibitions, promises, threats. It's all mercy. Everything that's in it is a mercy lil alameen. Because man, when he implements it, he gets the mercy directly. And when a believer, when man follows God's guidance, everything around them benefits indirectly, even non-believers. So Allah says it's rahmatan lil alameen. And following the instructions in this Quran leads to happiness and success in this life and in the next. And it is Allah's greatest grant. It's a gift. It's a gift that you cannot put money on. It's the greatest gift from Allah to man, to have a path. He drew a path for us that you can follow, and that path will lead you to heaven. Without that path, what are you supposed to do? I mean, that's the blessing. When you know exactly what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, that's a great blessing from Allah. So Allah says, Kitabun fussilat ayatuhu. This Quran has verses that are detailed. The details in the Quran covers every matter that is of interest to man in this life and in the hereafter. If the Quran didn't mention it, then it's not important. Should I eat apples or oranges? Eat whatever you want. That does not benefit you in your hereafter. But how to conduct yourself in business, in marriage, in whatever, those are, the details are in the Quran because it is of importance and of consequence for the hereafter. So this book covers every topic of interest. It satisfies the goals and aspirations of man, and it's compatible with human nature and intellect. You have to seek knowledge to know what it's trying to tell you, and when you implement it, you benefit from it. So any condition that you may face in this life that would benefit you, Allah has mentioned it in the Quran. You can be poor, and there's many examples of poor people that were the best of mankind. You can be wealthy, and you have the example of prophets who were kings and did great deeds. You may have a health problem in this life, and you have in Prophet Ayub, you have an example of how to be patient. You may have a son that is not like you. He is not a believer. And you have in Sayyidina Nuh, you have an example of a prophet whose son was not a believer. You have an example where Prophet Ibrahim, his father wasn't a believer. You have, if you have a problem with your wife, Prophet Lut we have the example of Sayyidina Lut. If a wife has a problem with her husband, we have the example of Sayyida Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh. She was one of the 4 women whose faith was complete, and her husband was the worst of mankind. So, you have examples. You have no excuse for not following the directions in the Quran. You cannot say, but my circumstance is. Allah has given us many examples. The stories in the Quran are not historical narrations or stories in themselves. They're examples to follow. So we have no excuse. If you were accused unjustly in this world, you have an example in Sayyidina Yusuf. He was Akram al-Akrameen. He was a great human being, and he was sold like a slave and thrown in jail and accused, and all the story of Prophet Yusuf. You have an example in him on how to be steadfast no matter what the conditions are. If you are a woman and you were slandered, accused of immorality, you have in Sayyidah Aisha, you have an example. So the Quran is detailed everything of interest in its verses. So any issue that you may have, there's a solution in the Quran, if it benefits you in your hereafter. So if you need to be, Allah knows our nature. So He gave us this Quran because He knows that we need to be comforted. We need to be given glad tidings. We need to know where we're going. We need to be warned. We need to be alarmed at what's going on. So if you're looking for all of these, it's in there. It's in the Quran. We need images of what is to come in the hereafter. It's there. We have that in the Quran. If you want to look at the past and see what happened to other nations when they behaved one way, what happened to them, we have that example in the Quran. So it's all there. All these examples that we seek, they're all there. If we need clear guidance on how to conduct ourselves for the best outcome, it's there. So these verses of the Quran, they're detailed for our benefit, and you have to study them and learn from them and implement them. A great verse in Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, in verse 3, it's part of that verse. Allah says, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. This day, this was revealed on the Prophet ﷺ during the Hajj, the final Hajj. This day I have perfected for you your religion and completed my favor upon you and have approved for you Islam as a religion. So this verse tells us that Islam and the Quran is complete. Everything that you want is in there. The perfection is in the content. Its content is perfect. There is no contradiction. And the completion is in the number of topics that it addressed. Any topic of interest is in the Quran. So Allah's instructions are complete. Nothing can be added and nothing can be removed. If you add anything to this Quran, it's like you're accusing Allah of forgetfulness. And if you take out things from the Quran, that's even worse. Then you are transgressing against Allah by ignoring His commands. So everything in there is complete and perfect. So the Quran is complete, and all of the details in it, if you follow it, will ensure a successful life and a successful hereafter. All that is left is we gain knowledge, because the end of that verse, it says, لِقَوْمٍ يَعْلَمُونَ. This Quran has been detailed. كِتَابٌ فُصِّلَتْ آيَاتُهُ لِقَوْمٍ يَعْلَمُونَ. For people who have knowledge, who seek knowledge, who are interested in knowing, Ya Allah, what do you want from me? How should I be conducting myself? That doesn't come by osmosis. You have to study. You have to put the time. You have to put the time. If you don't put the time, then prepare an excuse that's convincing to Allah as to why did you not put the effort. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم.